I didn't plan on my life changing that night. I only planned to do one small, decent thing: drop my drunk friend safely home and drive back to my quiet apartment. That's it. No drama. No complicated emotions. No turning point. But life rarely listens to plans. It was almost 11:45 p.m. when I helped Lena into my car. The neon lights of downtown were already fading, the streets thinning out as the city prepared to sleep. Lena was laughing too loudly, her head lolling slightly as she buckled her seatbelt, after I reminded her twice. "I'm totally fine," she insisted, words slurring just enough to make the lie obvious. "You tried to pay the bartender with your library card," I replied, starting the engine. She burst into laughter. "It's vintage." I shook my head, smiling despite myself. Lena had always been like this: brilliant, stubborn, warm-hearted, and absolutely terrible at knowing her limits. We'd been friends for almost 4 years, ever since we met at a community writing workshop. She dreamed of being a novelist. I worked in IT and pretended not to dream. The night air was cool as I drove, the radio low. Lena leaned her forehead against the window. "You're a good guy, you know that," she murmured. "I'm just sober," I said. "No. You're safe." That word hit differently than I expected. Her house sat in a quiet residential neighborhood, old trees, wide lawns, the kind of place where porch lights stayed on for people who were late. I parked carefully and turned off the engine. "We're here," I said. Lena blinked. "Already?" She tried to open the door, failed, tried again. I got out and walked around to help her. As soon as she swayed. "Okay," I sighed, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You're not walking alone." Her head fell briefly against my chest. For half a second, neither of us moved. Then the front door opened. A warm yellow light spilled onto the porch, and a woman stepped out. Tall. Composed. Early 50s, maybe. She wore a soft cardigan and held concern in her eyes that sharpened the moment she saw Lena. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, hurrying down the steps. "You said you'd only have one drink." "Mom," Lena groaned. "This is my friend. He kidnapped me." I smiled awkwardly. "Hi. I know who you are," she said gently. "You're the one she talks about." That made my heart skip. "Talks about?" "I'm Marianne," she added, extending her hand. Her grip was warm, steady. A mother's grip. "Thank you for bringing her home safely." "Of course," I said. "I just wanted to make sure she got in okay." Marianne studied Lena for a moment, then looked back at me. "Would you mind helping me get her inside?" I nodded and together we guided Lena up the steps. Inside, the house smelled faintly of lavender and old books. It felt lived in. Loved. We settled Lena onto the couch, shoes kicked off, head already drooping. "I'll be asleep in 5 seconds, she announced. She wasn't wrong. Marianne pulled a blanket over her and brushed hair from her face, her expression softening into pure maternal affection. Then she turned to me. And smiled. "Would you like to stay over?" I blinked. "Oh, I don't want to intrude. I can head out." "It's late," she said kindly. "And I'd feel better knowing you didn't drive back tired. We have a guest room." I hesitated. Every instinct said be polite, decline, go home. But something about the warmth of the house, the sincerity in her voice, the quiet trust. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Absolutely," she said. "You've already done us a kindness tonight." I glanced at Lena, fast asleep, then back at Marianne. "Okay," I said. The guest room was simple and clean. Soft lighting. A neatly folded blanket at the foot of the bed. Bathrooms across the hall, Marianne said. Make yourself comfortable. Thank you, I replied. Really? As she turned to leave, she paused. You know, she said, Lena doesn't let just anyone see her like that. I swallowed. I didn't plan to. I know, she smiled. That's why I trust you. After she left, I sat on the edge of the bed, heart racing for reasons I couldn't fully explain. I hadn't done anything special. I hadn't crossed any lines. And yet, something had changed. I lay awake longer than I expected, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle into silence. I wondered what Marianne meant by the one she talks about. I wondered why my chest felt tight. I wondered why staying the night felt like the first step into a story I hadn't agreed to, but couldn't stop reading. Down the hall, Lena stirred in her sleep and mumbled something unintelligible. I smiled to myself. That night, I thought I was just being a good friend. I had no idea it was the beginning of something far more complicated. And far more meaningful. I woke up to the smell of coffee. Not the cheap instant kind I usually made at home, but real coffee, rich, warm, comforting. For a moment, I forgot where I was. The unfamiliar ceiling, the quiet hum of a house that wasn't mine. Then it all came back. Lena. The late night. Her mother's gentle voice asking me to stay. I sat up slowly, running a hand through my hair. The guest room looked even calmer in the morning. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, painting soft lines across the bed. I checked my phone. 7:42 a.m. I should probably leave early, I thought. No reason to overstay my welcome. I pulled on my jacket and stepped into the hallway. The house was already awake. From the kitchen came the sound of clinking cups, and laughter. Lena's laughter. I froze. She sounded clear. Awake. Very awake. When I reached the kitchen doorway, I stopped. Lena sat at the table in an oversized sweater, hair loosely tied back, hands wrapped around a mug. No makeup. No forced confidence. Just her. Marianne stood at the counter, flipping something in a pan. Oh, Lena said, looking up. Her eyes widened slightly. You stayed. Her tone wasn't accusing. It was surprised. And, relieved? Your mom insisted, I said, suddenly aware of how underdressed I felt. Marianne smiled over her shoulder. I offered. He accepted. Lena groaned softly. I was drunk, wasn't I? Very, Marianne replied cheerfully. Lena turned back to me, embarrassment coloring her cheeks. I'm sorry if I said anything weird. You accused me of kidnapping, I said. She covered her face. Oh no. I laughed, and the tension broke just a little. Breakfast was simple, eggs, toast, coffee, but it felt strangely intimate. Like I was part of something domestic I didn't belong to. Marianne watched us quietly as Lena talked about her headache and the awful karaoke performance she vaguely remembered. So, Marianne said at last, how long have you two been friends? For years, Lena answered quickly. I nodded. About that. And you've never dated? Marianne asked, casual, but not careless. Lena nearly choked on her coffee. Mom. What? I'm curious. Lena shot me an apologetic look. We're just friends. Something in the way she said it, too fast, too firm, made my chest tighten. Marianne raised an eyebrow but said nothing. After breakfast, Lena insisted on walking me to the door. I really appreciate last night, she said once we were alone. Most people would have just put me in a rideshare and left. I wanted to make sure you were okay. She nodded, hesitating. You always do. That sentence landed heavier than it should have. Before I could respond, Marianne appeared behind us. You're welcome back anytime, she said warmly. For dinner. Or coffee. Lena stared at her. Mom. I like him, Marianne shrugged. I trust him. Her words made my throat tighten. Thank you, I said quietly. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, Lena texted me. Lena, are you busy tonight? Me, not really. Why? Lena, my mom wants to cook you dinner. Me, your mom? Lena, she won't stop asking. Please help me. I stared at the screen, smiling despite myself. Me, okay. But only if you promise not to get drunk this time. Lena, no promises. That evening felt different. Lena dressed nicer than usual. Not flashy, just thoughtful. And she kept glancing at me when she thought I wasn't looking. During dinner, Marianne asked about my job, my family, my plans. Real questions. The kind that suggested interest beyond politeness. At one point, Lena excused herself to answer a call. Marianne leaned closer to me. You care about her, she said softly. I do, I admitted. More than you realize. I didn't answer. She smiled knowingly. She's been hurt before. Be gentle, with both of you. Before I could respond, Lena returned. The rest of the evening passed easily, laughter filling the space between us. But when I left that night, Lena walked me to my car. I need to tell you something, she said suddenly. Her voice shook. Okay. She took a breath. That night, when I said you were safe. She stopped. I meant it, she finished quietly. Our eyes met. The world narrowed. Neither of us moved closer. Neither of us pulled away. And that scared me more than anything else. I didn't sleep much after that night. Lena's words kept replaying in my head like a song stuck on repeat. You're safe. It wasn't a compliment you forgot easily. It wasn't casual. It was intimate in a quiet, dangerous way. By the time my alarm went off, I already knew one thing for certain. Whatever this was between us, it wasn't just friendship anymore. Lena didn't text me for 2 days. That alone told me she was thinking just as hard as I was. On the 3rd day, my phone buzzed. Lena, can we talk? In person. No emojis. No jokes. Just honesty. Me, yeah. When? Lena, now, if you can. We met at a small park halfway between our apartments. Late afternoon sunlight filtered through the trees, kids playing in the distance, the world moving on like nothing was wrong. Lena sat on a bench, hands clasped together so tightly her knuckles were white. She didn't look at me right away. I've been lying to myself, she said finally. I stayed quiet. I keep telling people you're just my friend, she continued. I've been telling myself that. She exhaled sharply. But I think I've been in love with you for a while. The word love hit me like a sudden drop in elevation. My heart pounded. Lena. Let me finish, she said quickly, eyes finally meeting mine. They were glossy, but steady. I didn't say anything because I was scared. I didn't want to ruin what we had. She laughed weakly. Ironic, right? I swallowed. You wouldn't have ruined anything. Her eyebrows knit together. Then why didn't you ever say anything? Because I was afraid too. Because I didn't think I was enough. Because I thought she deserved someone braver. I didn't think you saw me that way, I admitted. And I didn't want to cross a line I couldn't uncross. She nodded slowly. My mom saw it before I did. That made me smile despite the tension. Silence settled between us, not awkward, but heavy with meaning. So what happens now? she asked softly. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The familiar curve of her smile, the intelligence in her eyes, the vulnerability she rarely showed. I don't want to lose you, I said. But I don't want to keep pretending either. Her lips parted slightly. I care about you, I continued. More than a friend. I just didn't know if I was allowed to. Lena reached out, hesitated, then took my hand. The world didn't explode. It just made sense. We didn't kiss. Not then. Instead, we talked about fears, past relationships, boundaries. About what would change and what wouldn't. When the sun dipped low and the air cooled, she squeezed my hand. Walk me home, she asked. Always. At her door, she turned to me. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. She smiled softly. That feels like a good sign. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine. Not a kiss. But closer than anything we'd ever shared. Good night, she whispered. Good night. As I walked back to my car, I felt lighter, and more terrified, than I had in years. Because friendship was safe. But love? Love was a risk. And for the first time, I was ready to take it. The first date didn't look like a date. No candles. No reservations. No dramatic confessions. Just Lena texting me the next morning. Lena, coffee? As, whatever we are now. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Me, yeah. As whatever we are. The cafe was familiar, we'd been there dozens of times before. Same chipped mugs. Same corner table. But everything felt different, like the room had shifted a few inches to the left. Lena arrived wearing a light jacket, hair loose, eyes nervous. You look nice, I said. She smiled. You sound surprised. I am, I admitted. In a good way. We sat. Ordered. Waited. So, she said, wrapping her hands around her cup, rules? I blinked. Rules? For us, she explained. We've been friends for so long. I don't want to lose that. I don't either, I said quickly. We go slow. We talk. If something feels wrong, we say it. She nodded, relief clear on her face. Okay. Good. Then she looked at me differently, open, curious, hopeful. You know, she said, my mom keeps asking if you're coming over again. I laughed. Already? She likes you, Lena said softly. A lot. That warmth in my chest returned. The first time I held her hand as more than a friend, it was crossing the street. Cars rushed by, and instinctively I reached for her. She froze for half a second, then intertwined her fingers with mine. Neither of us let go after we reached the sidewalk. Is this okay? I asked. Yes, she said immediately. Then quieter, more than okay. Not everyone reacted the same way. When we told our mutual friends, reactions ranged from finally to wait, really? One friend pulled me aside. Don't mess this up, he said. She's been into you forever. That both comforted and terrified me. 2 weeks in, Lena invited me to dinner again. At her house. Marianne greeted me with a knowing smile. Well, she said, stepping aside, this feels official now. Lena groaned. Mom. What? Marianne laughed. I just like being right. Dinner was louder this time. Easier. Lena leaned into me without thinking. I caught Marianne watching us once, not intrusively, just content. After dessert, Lena and I stepped onto the porch. The night was warm. Quiet. I've never dated someone who knew me this well, she said. I've never dated someone who scares me this much, I admitted. She smiled. Scared can be good. Then she kissed me. Soft. Careful. Certain. The world didn't spin. It settled. Later that night, lying awake in my own bed, I realized something important. Love didn't arrive like lightning. It arrived like trust, built quietly, patiently, until one day you noticed it had been there all along. And this time, I wasn't running from it. Happiness is loud when it's new. It laughs too much. It shows up early. It makes you forget that the past has a habit of remembering you. For a few weeks, Lena and I lived in that loud happiness. Morning texts. Late night calls. Inside jokes that felt sacred. We didn't rush anything, but we didn't pull back either. It felt balanced. Real. Until the night her past decided to remind us it still existed. It happened on a Thursday. I was at Lena's place, helping her edit a chapter from her novel. She sat cross-legged on the couch, reading aloud, stopping every few lines to ask what I thought. "You're improving," I said honestly. "Your characters feel braver." She smiled. "Maybe I am too." A knock interrupted us. 3 sharp taps. Lena froze. "I'm not expecting anyone," she said quietly. Another knock. Louder. I stood. "Want me to?" She shook her head and walked to the door. When she opened it, her entire posture changed. The warmth vanished. A man stood there, mid-30s, confident in the careless way some people are when they assume they still matter. "Hey, Lena," he said. "Long time." My stomach tightened. "Evan," she replied flatly. "What are you doing here?" "I was in the neighborhood," he shrugged. "Thought I'd check in." I didn't like the way his eyes slid past her, and landed on me. "Oh," he said. "You've got company." "I live here," she said. So yes. There was history in the air. Thick. Uncomfortable. "Can I come in?" Evan asked. "No," Lena said immediately. That should have been the end. It wasn't. Evan laughed softly. "You always did that. Act strong after pretending you didn't care." Her hands clenched. "I cared," she said. "You just didn't." I stepped forward. She said no. Evan finally looked at me fully. Measured me. "And you are?" "Someone who listens." His jaw tightened. "Relax," he said to Lena. "I just wanted to apologize." She let out a short, humorless breath. Apologies don't show up uninvited. Marianne's voice called from upstairs. "Lena? Everything okay?" Evan's expression shifted. "Oh," he said quietly. "Your mom still lives here?" "Yes," Lena replied. "And she's still protective." Marianne appeared behind Lena, eyes sharp and assessing. "You must be Evan," she said calmly. He stiffened. "Hi. You hurt my daughter," Marianne continued. "And you don't get to surprise her anymore." Silence. Lena didn't move. I touched her arm gently. "Hey." She exhaled shakily. I didn't think seeing him would still affect me. "It makes sense," I said. "He mattered once." She looked up at me. "He made me feel small. Like I was always asking for too much." I swallowed. "You never ask for too much." Tears welled in her eyes. She stepped into my arms, and I held her, not to fix anything, just to be there. Marianne watched us quietly, then returned upstairs without a word. Later that night, Lena sat beside me, calmer. "I was afraid," she admitted, that you'd think I wasn't over him. I think, I said carefully, that being hurt doesn't mean you're still attached. She smiled weakly. You're annoyingly emotionally intelligent. I've had practice, with you. She rested her head on my shoulder. That's why this scares me, she said softly. You see me. All of me. I kissed the top of her head. I'm not going anywhere. That night, love didn't feel loud. It felt strong. Because the past had knocked. And we hadn't answered together. Some moments don't announce themselves as turning points. They arrive quietly. Disguised as choices. Heavy only after you've made them. A week after Evan showed up, Lena got the email. She read it twice. Then a third time. Her hands were shaking when she handed me her phone. I didn't apply, she said. At least, not recently. The email was from a publishing residency in New York. 6 months. Fully funded. Competitive. Prestigious. Life-changing. I applied a year ago, she whispered. After Evan and I broke up. I never heard back. I thought I didn't get in. My chest tightened, but I smiled anyway. Lena, this is incredible. She nodded, eyes glassy. It is. And it's terrifying. That night, we sat on the porch of her house. The same place we'd shared our first real kiss. I don't know what to do, she said. 6 months is a long time. It is, I agreed. She looked at me carefully. I won't go if you ask me not to. My heart sank. I would never ask you that, I said immediately. But what if it hurts us, she asked. What if distance changes things? I took her hands. What if not going changes you? She searched my face, like she was trying to see if I meant it. I don't want to be the reason you don't chase your dream, I continued. Even if it scares me. She laughed softly through tears. God, why are you so unfairly supportive? Because I love you, I said. The words slipped out. We both froze. I didn't take them back. Lena's breath caught. You, love me? Yes. She smiled, wide, trembling, real. I love you too. Telling Marianne was harder than expected. Not because she disapproved. Because she understood too well. You should go, Marianne told Lena gently. And if he's the right person. She looked at me. He'll still be there. I nodded. Even though my chest felt hollow. The weeks before her departure passed too fast. We made memories on purpose. Late-night drives. Shared playlists. Quiet mornings that felt like practice for a future we hadn't earned yet. On her last night, we lay side by side, not sleeping. Promise me something, she whispered. Anything. If this gets hard, don't disappear. I kissed her forehead. I won't. At the airport, she hugged me tightly. This isn't goodbye, she said. No, I replied. It's just, later. She walked away. I watched until she disappeared. Distance didn't break us. But it tested us. Missed calls. Long days. Silent fears we didn't always say out loud. Some nights were harder than others. But every time she called, every time she laughed, every time she said I'm still choosing you. I did too. 6 months later, she came home. Different. Stronger. Still hers. At the arrival's gate, she dropped her bag and ran into my arms. I'm here, she said. So am I. Marianne watched from behind us, smiling. Sometimes love isn't about staying. Sometimes it's about letting go. And trusting that what's real will come back. 6 months apart can feel like a lifetime. Or a blink. It depends on what's waiting when you come home. Lena didn't come back quietly. Her suitcase rolled behind her like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. She looked older somehow, not in years, but in certainty. We didn't rush back into normal life. We rebuilt it. Slow mornings. Honest conversations. Space for who she'd become, and who I was still becoming. One evening, a week after her return, she asked me to walk with her. No destination. Just movement. We ended up back at the park where she'd first confessed her feelings. She sat on the same bench. "So," she said, exhaling, "I got an offer." My heart skipped. "In New York?" She nodded. "A book deal. Small publisher. Big faith." "That's amazing," I said, meaning it completely. "There's more," she added. She took my hands, grounding herself. "They want me there long term." The old fear tried to rise. I didn't let it speak. "What do you want?" I asked. She smiled softly. "I want a life that fits both my dreams and my heart." I swallowed. "And where does that leave us?" She leaned forward, resting her forehead against mine, just like that first night we almost crossed the line. "Right here," she said. The move wasn't dramatic. It was intentional. We planned. We compromised. We chose. I transferred my job. She kept writing. Marianne cried, then visited every month. The first night in our new apartment, we sat on the floor eating takeout. "Remember the night I got drunk and you brought me home?" Lena laughed. "And your mom invited me to stay?" I said. She smiled. She knew. "She always does," I replied. Months later, her book hit shelves. I stood in the back of the bookstore as she read from it, steady, confident, real. After the applause, she found me in the crowd. This time, she didn't hesitate. She kissed me in front of everyone. Later that night, I took her hand. "There's something I want to ask you," I said. Her eyes widened. "Are you?" I laughed. "Not yet." She punched my arm. "But someday," I added quietly. Her smile softened. "I'll say yes. Some stories start with fireworks. Ours started with kindness. With a late-night drive. A mother's trust. And a choice to stay. And every day since. We keep choosing each other."